Hi everybody, it's Father Rich Jasper from Immaculate Conception and St. Jude Mission Church in Elkton, Maryland. We're continuing our Holy Week journey. We are on what's commonly known as Spy Wednesday, Wednesday, April 16th. And today we actually now flip back to the Gospel of Matthew. We've been with John for quite a while, but Matthew now continues part of the story as we're heading to Calvary. And so Matthew writes from chapter 26. He says, one of the 12, who was called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, "What are you willing to give me if I hand him over to you?" They paid him 30 pieces of silver, and from that time on, he looked for an opportunity to hand him over. On the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the disciples approached Jesus and said, "Where do you want us to prepare for you to eat the Passover?" He said, "Go into the city to a certain man and tell him, the teacher says, my appointed time draws near. In your house I shall celebrate the Passover with my disciples." The disciples then did as Jesus had ordered and prepared the Passover. When it was evening, he reclined at table with the 12, and while they were eating, he said, "Amen, I say to you, one of you will betray me." Deeply distressed at this, they began to say to him one after another, "Surely it is not I, Lord." He said in reply, "He who has dipped his hand into the dish with me is the one who will betray me. The Son of Man indeed goes, as it is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would be better for that man if he had never been born." Then Judas, his betrayer, said in reply, "Surely it is not I, Rabbi." He answered, "You have said so." Matthew's version, what we're hearing today, in a lot of ways mirrors what John was saying in Tuesday's passage. If you heard yesterday, John gives his version of what Judas did, and now this is Matthew's version. A little more succinct in what Matthew's saying, but what struck me about this particular passage is the fact that you can almost hear Jesus' heart breaking. That's what keeps coming to me, that he is surrounded. Again, we have to remember he's at the Eucharist banquet table, the Passover supper, and he is saying to them, "One of you will betray me." Now, in truth, all of them in some way will betray him at Calvary, with the exception of John, who stays at the cross. But all of them ran, Peter denied, and even Judas, of course, turned him over and betrayed him with money, the very thing that he was complaining about in the first place. But I think why I keep coming back to the heart of Jesus breaking is that you can hear him crying out to all of them, "It's not too late." I mean, here he is giving of himself completely, body, blood, soul, and divinity at the Last Supper, pouring it out and saying, "Look, please don't do this. You don't have to go this way. I love you," right? And I just am here for you. And yet, in their human weakness, in their human struggles, in their sinfulness, they all walked away in different ways. And yet Jesus still loved. And that again is, I think, just a beautiful understanding that, if I were in that place, I'd be like, well, then forget you all. But Jesus still said, "I still go to the cross for those very reasons, because I love you. And no matter how many times you turn your back on me, no matter how many times you stumble and sin, no matter how many times you betray me, I will not leave you or abandon you. I will always love you." In other words, I will fulfill the covenant, but I ask you to come back to me. All of these disciples had the opportunity to come back to him, and 11 out of the 12 did, in their own way, in their own time, again, through his grace, through the power of the resurrection. Peter came back. All the others eventually came back. Judas, though, he went a different way. And I often say to myself, what would have happened if Judas accepted the mercy? What would have happened if Judas accepted the grace and the love that Jesus just kept holding out, that heart of his, saying, "It's here for you, Judas, and it's not too late." On this Wednesday, this Spy Wednesday, we call it that because of Judas and what he did. The question remains for all of us. If we're in a place of struggle, if we're in a place of sin, right now in our own lives. And Jesus comes to us and says, it's not too late. Will you accept the grace and the mercy and come back to him? God bless you.